We are just about to go live, and we have a lot to talk about here with GPU wars because it's going to get really good here. What's up, everybody? This is Mizo here. What's up, everybody? This is Mizo here. I am here to talk about PC and tech. As if you know, what's going on here is with the whole GPU wars. We have the RX 9060 XT that is going to be soon released, and there is Nvidia's RTX 5060 and the 5060 Ti. You might be wondering exactly which one is the better one to get. They're going to be both different when it comes to MSRP pricing. It's going to be different in performance wise, but we do have an idea of what the RX 9060 and the 9060 XT can really provide. Now, if you have any questions on this topic, especially if you're doing any type of PC build, feel free to ask. I do talk to the chat, so if you're wondering about that, I certainly will answer your questions, especially if you're trying to get your PC build up and running, or maybe you're just trying to do an upgrade. But with the 9060 and the 9060 XT, we have a pretty decent idea of what the price is going to be. It seems that the pricing is going to lead more towards $450 USD, up to $519, depending on what type of X you have. Sapphire, and you have quite a few brands that you can really select from. And the speeds with the boost clocks can go up as high as 3,300 megahertz. So it's pretty incredible in speed from what we're seeing by the leaks. And this was actually leaked out by Amazon by accident. Luckily, I found this article right over by, I believe it was Video Cards that had pushed it out. But if you are interested in getting that card, that is the ideal price range for it currently. Now for the 5060 or the 5060 Ti, it seems that that is going to be a whole different type of price range where you have up to $300, and they do have the 5060 Ti where it is as high as about close to $400. So it is a bit cheaper, but really, how does it compare via specifications? So with the Computex that's coming around pretty soon, within about, I'd say, a little bit over a week, once Computex is out, we'll know a lot more about the product, but we can get a pretty decent idea of how the specifications are going to compare with each other here. Now, I'm going to pull up some specs here just to give you an idea of how it's going to be. More than likely, they're both going to run on a 128-bit bus. Of course, they have both the different bandwidths, which is one is G7, the other is going to be G6. So you're probably wondering, why is the AMD RX 9060 XT a little bit more costly compared to the Nvidia's 90? Now the naming has me all mixed up here. The 5060 and the 5060 Ti. How come it's a little bit more than AMD's? Well, not more than AMD's, actually vice versa. It's going to be more than Nvidia's. What's the cause behind it? And more than likely, it has to do with the speeds on the cards. So if you take a look here, so there's going to be two different variations, similar to just how it is like when it comes to just like when you purchase any other GPU. Besides the 5080s and the 5090s, there's going to be a variation between a 8GB model and also a 16GB model. Now, the 8GB model doesn't really make any sense to me, especially if you're trying to purchase a newer card, because more than likely when you do purchase that card, that's not really going to be sufficient for many people out there. So for that to be released, it doesn't really make any sense. And I would say if you are trying to purchase a GPU, it's better to go towards something more like a 16GB version. Unless you're even like if you go for say RTX 5070, at least that has 12 gigabytes, and that's like the bare minimum. It seems nowadays, especially a lot of games aren't as optimized as they should be, because you can see the different performance levels, which we'll get into in a little bit, about Doom, which they're going to release their new game within about a week. But you can see the difference in performance, and this is what could really cause a whole GPU war, because it's going to really get interesting on that side of it. Now, the RTX 5060 does feature the GB206, which is the current chipset that it has. And of course, you have the 8GB version and the 16GB variant. How can I get more FPS with my 5070 Ti while in gaming and streaming fast in here? Maybe. Now, if you're trying to get a little bit more speed out of your FPS out of it, are you doing it all in one system? I'm assuming you're just doing it on a single system. And mind me, what's your processor again? Throw out your specs out there, just so that way I have an idea of exactly what we're dealing with here. But I do remember you coming in before yet, and I can definitely help you out with that. More than likely, when it comes to streaming, on the streaming side, you're going to have like a little bit of a decent processor, so that can make a difference. Because your stream's going to run more off your processor than your GPU. Your GPU is going to work too, because it's doing the encoding aspect of it. And also, let me know how much RAM you have too, because that's also good to have, especially if you're going to be using one system to do everything. So i7 11 gen. Okay, so you got the 11700KF. So if you even simply just like upgrade it to like the 11900, if you choose to stay on the same system, I would just go to the 11900KF. You would see quite the difference, because you're going to have more processing cores. And because of that, that will certainly help you out there. What's up, Sanchez? Good to see you. So I would certainly help you. I would say go 11900K or 11900KF and 32 gigabytes. 32 gigabytes should be sufficient, depending on what type of game that you're playing. And as you're streaming, it's probably a good idea to push it up some. You could even get the 48 gigabyte kits currently on, for example, just like the build that I have just right behind me, I have a 48 gigabyte kit. But since you're on the DDR4, it's probably better to go 64, because they don't really have the 48 gigabyte kits as they used to. Will you be playing Dune Awakening? I have to check that out, Sanchez. I got to check it out. I got to take a look at that game. It seems like it's going to be good. What I was really excited for is Doom Dark Ages. And that's something I actually want to bring up to everybody too, because the numbers are quite interesting for those, especially who do want to get something like Doom Dark Ages for PC. And for those who are looking for a new GPU, this is a great topic to actually bring up, because it gives you an idea of where, like, Bethesda Studios, the one that is dealing with Doom Dark Ages, isn't really optimizing the games as they should. It's almost like they decided to throw a 4090 and optimize out of it, and that was it. And it seems like every other system that they dealt with, it was kind of like, we'll see what happens, or just drop the settings and it'll be fine. Because I'll pull up those benchmarks here, and some of them might actually impress you, and some of them might really disappoint you, because the numbers are really quite interesting here. And I'm going to pull them up here. Right here. Can you turn down the bitrate of your stream? You may need it. Can you turn down the bitrate of your stream? You may need it. Of my stream, the current stream that I'm on, does it seem like is it too high? Too much high of a bitrate? Okay, so here's the benchmarks we got out of Doom Dark Ages. I'm going to switch over to the screen here, so that way you guys can see it and check it out. Take a look at these numbers here. So you see the RTX 5090, it's at 32 gigabytes, right? Of course, 85.9 for a 5090. It's a bit ridiculous. For the RTX 4090, 24 gigabytes, it has up to 64.6 frames on it. And then for the RTX 5080, you get about 55. RTX 4080, you get 53. And then from where everything else ranges, you got 49, 49. So you can't even get 100. You can't even get 100 frames off of Doom Dark Ages. This is all on ultra settings. Again, this is all in 4K as well. So if you are gaming in 4K, that gives you indication of just how bad the optimization is when it comes to Doom Dark Ages. This is just an indicator. And here's another one here, which shows that Nvidia GeForce, again, this is going to be on a 1440p, and this is just a this is actually off of DLSS and off of XeSS. So this is just a simple, kind of like a 2K resolution, 2.5K resolution display. So this usually will apply to ultrawides, well, sort of ultrawides, but this is more or so like a kind of like just the typical widescreen monitor where it's a bit higher resolution than 1080p. But anyway, the RTX 5090 could push 145 on that. Now, when it goes to the 4090, 136, 9070 now tops it. 9070 XT at 113.5, and then it goes 4080 Super, then 5080. So that just tells you right there that I wasn't kidding about the Radeon's RX 9070 XT. It certainly can do exactly what you need it to do during gaming. So don't really look down on AMD's GPUs, because they have been excellent for 2025, and I have been constantly recommending them. So yeah, just I would say yet to send out a little bit more specs, but I would say, yeah, the 64 gigabytes would probably be sufficient for you, and 11900 would be good enough for gaming and streaming for your system. You would see a big improvement there. Just make sure the latency is a bit lower, so that way you give yourself some cap, especially when it comes to when you go into some gaming. You want to make sure to have that that space in there. But for Sanchez, he says, have you downloaded the new Adrenaline drivers? I lost my audio. I haven't quite downloaded them yet. I'm planning to. I actually got my setup here right now, and I'll turn it on and I'll go update it actually and see what happens. But currently, Nvidia's drivers haven't been doing that great as well. When you go to look at Nvidia's drivers, they've seen that they've been kind of falling off the ball. Not really kind of, but they have been off the ball. It seems that with all their newest updates, which they're currently on 576.4 now, and people have complained about these benchmarks and said that more than likely they're probably on the newer drivers and that these benchmarks shouldn't count. But don't you feel that's a little bit ridiculous, especially that you have supposedly a very good card, and because you're gaming on a new driver that you're in the wrong? It should never be that way. Nvidia should really be the ones that comes out with the decent drivers and actually works for the different games where they're actually optimized. But currently, even I'm still on a older driver. I'm on 572 still back in March, because it will not be compatible when it goes into games such as Monster Hunter Wilds if I download any of the newer drivers, anything that's newer from March. But AMD seems like they have been doing an excellent job. I'm curious about the new Adrenaline drivers now. I haven't seen that issue yet, but I will definitely download it in. Currently, I've been working pretty hard on this RTX 4090 and RTX 5090 video to get a decent idea of where they both lie in power. And the results will be pretty interesting. I just got done doing some of the After Effects stuff, so we have a decent graph to get a good indication of what it looks like. And you'll have a good idea of if it's really worth updating from a 4090 to 5090. And some of you may already have a conclusion for that, but I wanted to really push this out as it's a little bit more later in the months and it's not a brand new card. Of course, when you have a brand new card, there's always going to be trial and error because, again, it's a new card. More than likely, the drivers may not be compatible, and unfortunately, they're still not compatible. And you might run into different issues later down the road. And so far, it seems like everything has been working well with the 5090, but there are also some issues that I would like to tell everybody out there too if you do decide to go 5090. But the good news is that if you're looking for a new stock supply and that you want to purchase a RTX 5090, they are certainly on their way. They have been excellent. When it's coming to resupply, just all day Friday yesterday, it seems like there's just been constant updates of them getting from MSI, from Zotac, from ASUS. They're just getting constant supply now for these RTX 5090s. So it's a lot more realistic to be able to get your hands on one. Now the 5070s and 5080s, you should be able to get your hands on those pretty easily. AMD's still a little bit tough, and unfortunately AMD also had announced that the RX 9070s and the 9070s XTs, they're going to be holding the price for at least a couple months, and we won't see any changes in prices because of that. There is also going to be a final price for Finland, which I would like to share for those in Finland and curious about getting a GPU there. Let me just pull that up for you because I want to give you the most accurate pricing here from what I see. But again, you can feel free to ask questions anytime during the stream and I'll make sure to answer them. I could always talk about the topic a little bit more later if you have any dire questions, especially when it comes to your PC build or if you're running into some issues. So for Finland, it looks like it's as high as 2,455 euros for a RTX 5090. So it's a bit high there. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem that it's going to be that great of pricing. And of course, the US pricing now, when it comes to the GPU, is now around $2,949, and that's for the Ventus. And for the 3-time overclock Ventus, it's also $2,999, which is practically $3,000 at that point. And unfortunately for places like in China, they're not able to even get their hands, or they shouldn't have their hands on a RTX 5090 as the 5090D because of the current issues that they are dealing with. So I do see that there is news about it. I just see what you're talking about too, Sanchez, about the Fidelity FX SDK with the FSR 3.14 released. What's up, Alex? Good to see you in here. I know you're busy at work, but keep making that bread. You'll be able to get whatever PC build that you want to get done, especially if you're trying to get a PC build. And so it looks like there's a few updated effects here. It says that it's with reduced upscaler ghosting. So they tried to get rid of that and update it to Brixler, GI, and breadcrumbs. Oh, okay. Awesome. Hopefully you have a decent break. Do you predict the issues with the AMD 99 series CPU's instabilities on the X870s to be fixed in the next couple of months? Or should I look behind and when I plan for future GPU upgrades? That's a great question there because I know a lot of people have this in their mind because you're probably hearing about these instability issues and how X870E boards aren't that great. And I gotta say, X870E really isn't that bad of a generation. You could even go X670 if you could get it for a lot cheaper. But honestly, it's not that bad. It's more so depending on the brand that you are getting. And if you're looking at something like ASRock, then I would say it's probably a good idea not to go with them currently because of their current issues. That's where you're hearing a lot of the instability coming from. I know some people have complained about other X870 boards because of the different type of upgrades that they threw in there and some of the different sacrifices they had to make to improve those motherboards, such as audio. I know some of the audio has become a little bit, hasn't been as good as the X670Es, but the X870Es have more of an upgrade when it comes to things like USB-C and 10 gigabit Ethernet connection. Now, some X670E boards may have it, but you would have to pay for the higher end side. So I wouldn't say don't be afraid of X870E. You can certainly get one. I highly recommend ASUS's eGaming motherboard. It's a great motherboard, and it's a great mid-tier one you can certainly go for. MSI also makes some great ones, such as the MSI Carbon is something I would also recommend. Great motherboard too. Gigabyte also makes decent ones, such as the AORUS Master or AORUS Extreme if you want to spend a little bit more, but just don't get ASRock, because ASRock is the one that has the different issues where you're hearing these 9800 X3Ds frying, and their explanation practically makes no sense for it. They're saying that there's dust on the AM5 socket, and that has to be cleared out before you install the processor, but there should never be dust on it anyway. So no corners. I'm saving up for go for it, Alex. Frozen says, I'm currently running an X870. So you are running into, I'm sorry to hear that, but only an 7600 and there seems no issues. Yes, so I'm going to upgrade to a 9000 series then. If you're not running into any issues, I wouldn't bother reaching 9000 series. If anything, if you did want to upgrade, maybe just you could go to 7800 X3D, or if you're thinking of waiting till AMD comes out with their 10000 series, because it's still going to be on Zen 5. Maybe there's better compatibility then, but I don't know if you want to upgrade your motherboard by then, because when they do release the 10000 series, it probably will be maybe within, I don't think it's going to be next year. It'll probably be the following year is what I'm thinking. So by then you might want to change out your motherboard if you wanted to, and or you can just do a whole nother build. That's a great option. Yes, and by then, exactly, that's a great point too, because the pricing should be adjusted by then, and we can expect more price adjustments. You've seen Ryzen has been updating their pricing when it comes to their processors, which is good. So if you want to get a 9800 X3D, you can certainly purchase it for, say, 400 USD now. I know it currently is. I know in other countries it has also dropped. Intel has also significantly dropped their prices, especially for the 265K. They actually took off like $100 or even up to 100 euros off of this processor. So, and ASUS ROG is absolutely, I do agree with that statement, Alex, because it's definitely a big difference when it comes to quality. And for those who are curious about this whole PCI Express debacle, when it comes to ASUS's quick release and their button, so far, luckily, from what I've seen, and at least on this case, on the 5500X, on the Corsairs, it seems that there is no issues whatsoever when you are swapping out GPUs. Now, it might be a little bit different than what you're used to because there is no button there. Instead, you do have to lift it from the I/O side of your GPU in order to release it from the motherboard. So it won't be no longer, you're probably typically used to releasing the card and lifting it from toward the front end of the card, but instead you actually got to lift it up in reverse practically, and it'll come right out. So if you're curious about that whole quick release debacle, I haven't seen an issue with it, and I'm also on an older X870E. But for those who do worry about it, they did update the design. there's a metal shielding that they had between the PCI Express bus. So they actually removed it and made it way thinner. So just in case if that was catching on to it. So if you're worried about that, you don't have to worry about it as much anymore. But when it comes to new motherboards, Gigabyte is also coming out with a new one. It's their Stealth series, which is similar to what ASUS came out with when it comes to their hidden ports, which is their, what are they called again? BTF boards. So ASUS's BTF boards, they're similar to that, and MSI has their own version of it as well. But Gigabyte now officially has their own version. So if you're interested in getting a motherboard like that, those are great motherboards to have. And especially if you want to have much more of a stealth look to it, because all the connectors are not going to be on the front end of the motherboard anymore. You could actually connect it directly in the back. You just have to make sure to have a case that will also be compatible with it, so that way you shouldn't have any issues with it. Now, I feel like it's probably more optimized for a lot of cases out there, but just in case, I know they have specific PC cases that you can get that will actually help you install these motherboards way more easier and with less hassle. And I'll show you how the design looks. It actually looks really good here. And it's quite impressive. We'll go here and I'll switch over, and we're not going to see this no more. And here it is. It's going to look like something like this when it's a finished product. Now, this has always been talked about, especially for those who want to do a build where it doesn't look too crazy. Oh, thanks for subscribing. And also, another great thing is you can see how clear it looks. Like, there's no wires at all. You might see one if you like really zoom into this, like really zoom in, then you might see one. It won't let me zoom in. But you can see how you can make it look nice and clean. This is obviously the Ice edition of Stealth, but they also improved this part. So I guess they're saying that there could be actually a problem with the thermal pads. Two small springs. Oh, okay. No, there isn't. I was going to say, what? That doesn't make sense. But here are two, I guess they have two springs here. It makes perfect sense, actually. So I see what they did here. So if you're curious what they're talking about here, the springs have pressure instead of just using like a typical, like a stand really to sit your M2 on it. That's actually a great idea. And that will actually keep the your SSD compressed with the heatsink so it can dissipate heat a lot easier, because the springs will naturally push up against it. And that's something that's not going to really wear down too easily. But let's go back here. I want to take a look more on the Stealth side. Let's go to the media side here. And let's see. I want to get a good picture of it so you can... There we go. Doesn't that look clean? You don't see any ports at all. So all the ports are going to be behind the motherboard. And that's going to give it a very nice look. And this is even actually on the B650, because I remember they had these for a while. I remember I saw these in CES last year, but now it's like they're really pushing it. But if you want that nice clean look, they certainly are coming out with more of these boards. Certainly am curious about it, would love to get my hands on one of these. And here's a good example of what it would look like here. Let me move that there. That's a good example of how the connections will look like, and that's why I recommended making sure that you have a case that's compatible with it, because you don't want to end up getting a PC case and then you end up finding out that you can't access the connectors, because once you mount the motherboard, some cases you won't be able to reach some of these connections. Now, they even have the SATA ports behind, which is pretty dope actually. They have the SATA ports, they have everything that's everything that you mostly need behind here. Even the fan connections are up here. So it's a great design, and I'm curious to see how far they go with it. And I gotta ask any of you out there, would you be interested in doing some sort of build when it comes to more of like a Stealth series or ASUS's BTF series? I think MSI's is like on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember what MSI's is called, but they have their own name for their, the MSI Zero. That's what they call it, MSI Zero. I couldn't think of it. Which one would you guys would like to see? What type of build? Would you want to see an ASUS BTF board, or would you want to see Gigabyte's AORUS? Like a Gigabyte AORUS board where it has the Stealth Edition, or you want to see more of like MSI's Zero? Let me know. Put one for ASUS, and I'll throw this into this live as a constant, kind of like a constant poll. So ASUS BTF, we have Gigabyte Stealth, which is 2, and MSI's Zero, which is 3. Put it in the comments down below, just send it through the chat is what I mean. Just send it through the chat. Let me know what you think, and we'll try to plan around it. We also do have another motherboard here, but that one's more of a Gigabyte AORUS Master. Pretty soon there will be a more in-depth video on it of what this motherboard does contain, but it is a LGA 1851, which is a Z890 motherboard. That is Intel's motherboard. So that's going to be based on the 265K or the 285K, depending on the type of processor that we end up picking out on it. So, but if you want to see more of a board such as a BTF or Stealth or a Zero board, feel free to put it in the chat and let me know what you think. And also, if you're just coming in and if you're wondering what I'm talking about, currently we're just on the topic of motherboards. We just were over the topic of GPUs, and now we're just talking into motherboards. Somehow we ended up into this conversation. I think because of we were just talking about what specs that Frozen had, so that way we can get a good indication of if it was worth upgrading or not. But if you're curious about the whole GPU side, there is certainly a 9060 and the 9060 XT coming out. And again, they will have 2 variants, 8 gigabytes, 16 gigabytes. And it seems that the pricing is kind of, we have a good indication of what it is because Amazon accidentally leaked it out, which is $450. There's some that's as high as a little bit on the low 500 end, like 510. But it's around that range for the 9070 XT. For the 9060 XT. I'm still on AM4. That's okay, Sanchez. You can stay on it as long as you need to. But you're on a decent system though, for the most part. And but AM4 is a great system. I do know for those who are on DDR4, they are planning to stop supporting it within this year. So if you do need some DDR4, I recommend getting it early this year, because once they stop making it, it's going to be more expensive than DDR5, and it's going to be harder to find that, or you can just try to get it off the used market. So I would highly suggest get some more DDR4 while you can, because they are going to stop making it. Now on DDR5, and they're also in talks of AM6, which is something I also wanted to bring up here. And with AM6, well, I actually wanted to get a reaction with you guys because I'm just curious myself about it. So apparently the 6th generation EPYC series first leaks with the Zen 6 cores. And it seems, all right, I'm going to share this with you guys here because it looks pretty good. So it says the leaks confirm that Venice will adapt up to 8 CCDs, and it will have up to 12 times the Zen 6 cores. Will have up to 96. That's insane. Up to 256 cores for it. And this is obviously going to be on something like the EPYC or Threadrippers, because they're more of like server-based type of CPUs or more of workstation CPUs. But this is specifically on EPYC, which is their server type. And apparently Epic's Venice series is coming into variants, and this is the look of it here by HXL. And here's the code: higher frequencies, more cores. That's going to be a monster. So yeah, this is going to be interesting for the most part. So this is probably going to more introduce once it gets to the whole PCI. I wonder if it's going to introduce it, the whole PCI Express 6. It's out already as it is, but just not publicly, not for consumer use anyway. But they have PCI Express 6, and I don't know about like if they're going to push out DDR6 around that same time, or maybe another variant of DDR5. But again, this is what we can expect, and more than likely we can see a lot more that's going to come up during the whole CES here. Because CES will certainly, not CES, Computex will certainly bring up a lot of information, because AMD says that they're very focused on the gaming aspect during Computex. I think Nvidia will definitely try to outshine them in some sort of way. I know a lot of the companies there, like ASUS and Gigabyte, they're all going to be there, and I'm sure they're all going to come out with some amazing products. I wouldn't be surprised if, I don't know if you guys saw the earlier stream earlier this week when I mentioned about the ASUS ROG Ally 2, or if you guys seen it, but it looks quite amazing. It looks almost like the regular ASUS ROG Ally, but except it has these more ergonomic grips similar to what the Xbox has, and they stick out and protrude a little bit more. So I don't know if it's going to affect portability at all, but it's supposed to have the new Z2 Extreme processor in there, so it's a whole generation ahead of the current Ally and the Ally X. And it's also going to have a Xbox guide button on that specific version, as they will have a alternative version without the Xbox guide button, but it's going to be running a different processor, which is not going to be as good as the Z2 Extreme. So if you do want to get the better Ally, you want to get the one where it does have the Xbox guide. So what I'm really curious about is if Microsoft is currently working on some sort of system where they'll have like an Xbox version of Windows, practically almost like a strictly gaming OS, similar to like Stream OS, but for Windows. And that's something I posted to them, and I told them about this, like it would be a great idea, because especially for those who don't want to use their PC for any type of work related use, or you have no use for anything else other than gaming for the PC. And that would be great, because then it would be well optimized for those who just wants to use their PC for gaming, and definitely would run into a whole lot less issues and different type of conflicts that you could run into just running a standard Windows OS. Now, this is just a standard idea. It'd be great to just have maybe like the browser, have your games on there, have a basic input, a basic word pad in there would be great as well. But hopefully they do come out with something like that, because I think that would be useful, and I think it would certainly draw a lot more people into PC gaming in that side, besides the pricing, because the pricing, again, is the insane part of everything that is going on right now, especially when it comes to the PC side. So if you are looking to build a PC, you certainly still can do it. I'm not saying it's impossible. In fact, we built this PC for less than $2,000, which was the RX 9070 XT build. And we ended up throwing a 9600X. So something similar to Tiny 11. Yes, something similar to that. Yes. So what Tiny 11 is, I'll share it with everybody out here. It's like, I want to show what it looks like. It's practically like Windows, but again, it's minimal. There's also something I want to send out to everybody out there that's interested, and you can actually pick it up off of something like GitHub. And I'll share this video, actually. I'll make a video on it. So that way it's a lot easier so you can understand it. It's going to be very quick. But you can remove all the extra bloat that you have on Windows that you don't really use. Like all the different stuff like Microsoft Paint or, all the useless apps that they give you. Microsoft Teams, OneDrive, all the stuff you don't want. It will remove all that extra bloat that you have on your system and make it more minimal. That's practically what Tiny 11 is, but it's a much more, it's just you install it that way instead of putting in a prompt for it to remove any of those extra apps. So I'll make sure to make a video on this, and maybe I'll show 2 different variants. I'll show something like Tiny 11, which is a great one that Frozen actually brought up, and also I'll bring up that different command prompt that you could put in there, and you can choose to remove all the extra bloat if you don't feel like starting fresh, starting a fresh version of Windows practically. So those are 2 options you can do, especially if you are going to be using your PC like more for a gaming rig, or maybe you're going to be using it more for some sort of production use, which is completely understandable, or creator use where you just need to have a clean system. So those are 2 great implementations that you can take advantage of. And going back onto the topic of the topic of the GPUs, just in case for anybody out there that is just coming in and they're probably like, oh, he's not talking about GPUs, he's talking about OS. Well, what I was saying about the GPU side real quick was about the RTX 5060 and the 5060 Ti. There is going to be a price difference between the AMD RX 9060, and the 2 differences are that the Nvidia card is actually a little bit cheaper. But again, the performance is going to be quite different. You're going to have G7 on 5060 and 5060 Ti versus G6, which is going to be on the 9060. And on top of it, the VRAM is going to be quite similar to where it's going to be 2 variants where it's 8 gigabytes up to 16 gigabytes. The boost clocks are going to be different, and the bus interference is also going to be quite different between the 2. Now for the GB206, it should be around 128-bit. I think it should be practically the same when it comes to the 9060 XT and the 9060. But again, they're 2 different memory bandwidths. So one's going to be running around 19, and the other one will be running close to 30. So it's going to be a little bit quicker, the 5060 certainly. But the clock speeds will also make a difference too, as it's rumored that the 9060 and the 9060 Ti can go up as high as 3.3 gigahertz, which is pretty insane compared to Nvidia's, where it goes up to, what is it? Let me look. I can't remember Nvidia's. I think it is 2.5. It's 2.5 gigahertz for Nvidia's. So if you're choosing between the 2, it seems like the 5060 is the better option. Now you also have to compare the 2 options when it comes to drivers. Currently, Nvidia's drivers have been just straight terrible. They have not been great. And if you choose to get Nvidia card, just stay on the March update for those who have the 50 series. Anybody who has the 40 and 30 series might be okay with the newer drivers, but I can tell you for certain that if you had the 50 series, it's better to stay on March's update, which was the 572 from driver from Nvidia. Now for AMD, I'm really curious. Actually, someone just actually brought that up too, that they have a new Adrenaline driver. I would love to download it and check it out and see if I'm getting any type of sound issues, because apparently he's getting some sound issues out of it. And they have ran some tests, especially like on newer games, if you're curious about, such as Doom's Dark Ages, which is pretty insane, that it can only run a maximum of up to 85 frames in 4K, even on the RTX 5090. And believe it or not, the third GPU that's in the list, not when it comes to 4K, but when it comes to 1440, is the RX 9070 XT. So if you're worried about purchasing a cheaper GPU, it certainly can perform and do the task that you would love it to do, because you'll spend well under $1,000 for this GPU and you'll still be able to play all the games that you enjoy, versus getting a $3,000 card, or you could build a whole PC practically with that. In fact, you could build a PC and get a OLED monitor with that type of money. So that's what I would suggest, especially for those who are just getting into the whole PC side and you want to get into PC gaming. I would say go with the RX 9070 XT, especially for this year. Definitely, I gotta say it's one of my favorites for this year out of all the GPUs that I've seen. When it comes to now, I'll make a whole list, of course, later in the year to see if there's any adjustments or changes, but more than likely it seems that RX 9070 XT has to take it for this year. I don't really see anything else coming out unless AMD surprises us on the gaming side and they decide to come out with the 9080 XT. That would be amazing. Because we had a good indication that there's possibly a 9080, because they did come out with a embedded 9080, which are in laptops, but it doesn't reach anything higher than 12 gigabytes of VRAM, unfortunately. So maybe it's just an alternate name for the 9070. And even the 9070, they only have an 8 gigabyte and 16 gigabyte variation, but because it's on a laptop, we figure that more than likely that it's just built for that specific need. So if they do come out with a 9080, it would be great that they would push out up to at least 24 gigabytes of VRAM. They got to do that. And AMD has that possibility because, again, they had 10 times more the sales than they expected. So I can see them investing a lot more into this because there is a demand for it. So, what's up, Joe? Joe Banana? I didn't see you over there. Apologize. It's kind of weird because I have two different chats up here. Unity and Christ, hi there. Looking at getting a 9070 XT over the 5070 Ti. I agree. Good choice. Smart man. Yeah, I would go with the 9070 XT for certain as well. That's a great choice because, again, like when I've just seeing it and working with the 9070 XT has been impressive. Now, every other card, they're going to be impressive as well, but just the fact that the value and the value that you get out of the 9070 XT is unbeatable. You get some great performance out of it, and it's something that will do any demand that you throw at that GPU will not disappoint you. So I would say definitely go 9070 XT. I agree with you. But it's been quite exciting, I gotta say, for this year, and I'm really curious what Computex will bring up, because Computex will certainly bring up a lot of questions when it comes with AMD, because AMD could surprise us with more GPUs, and we do know 9060 XT is going to be there. And I'm just really curious if they have something in the back. Maybe they have some sort of 9080, and then they have two other variants like the XT and then the XTX. But that's something that remains to be seen. And if they do, I am hoping it will be impressive. So may I ask, what type of micro ATX motherboard can handle the Ryzen 7 5700X and a RTX 4060 8GB? That's a great question. Now, there's a lot of great micro ATX boards out there. Now, if you're thinking of a 5700X, I always recommend, now again, I might be biased about that whole side of ASUS being great because they make great ITX boards or micro ATX boards. I would say for AM4, I'll tell you right now, because I think it is the F Gaming. F Gaming is a really good one. I'm trying to give you the F Gaming. It is, I'm looking for it right now for you. They do have the 550M, that's the tough gaming. And if you're trying to run a 4060 on it, we want to make sure that it doesn't split the speed. That's the most important part. And more than likely, it's probably just going to have one PCI Express bus on there anyway, and that's probably going to work. Here we go. And I'll actually give you the one right here. And I'll share the screen once I get this all filtered out here. Now, they're strictly showing AM5 now. The Prime ones are great, but again, you do have its limitations here. When it comes to Prime, I'll show you. See, the Prime ones are great here, like this one. And it's not expensive either. So the most important thing, again, it only has one PCI Express bus, as we kind of got a good idea or a good indication that it's going to have. So these are usually pretty good to go with. And more than likely, you shouldn't have any power loss here when it comes to power. Let me go to the specification side so I can tell you exactly what I mean. So expansion slots here, this is what you want to look for. So depending graphic specifications may vary between CPU types. Now the expansion slots, you can get up to 4 x16, which is great. Now we want to go down to, where's it at? What I always check for is the storage side, just in case, because this is where you could see a possibility of some sort of split in power. But this board actually might be great for you. Something like the Prime B550 then, I would say, would be a good choice then. This might be perfect, and it's not going to be an expensive board. Let's get a good indication of how much it is here. I'm just curious. One Newegg. It is the right here. The ASUS Prime B550 Wi-Fi 2. And also I could send you the link too. In fact, just go, you know what, just go, if you want, join our Discord. I forgot to mention that to you guys. We do have a Discord channel, and we love helping each other out when we do run into questions like this. And this is a perfectly valid question. You can definitely ask it. I'll send a Discord invite to everybody out there, and anybody is welcome to join. Now, I know on YouTube it doesn't pop up the link. I know on Twitch it'll come up. So if you're looking for the link, it'll pop up on there, so you can just directly click it. I fixed it. Now it only shows 2 prompts. Before it was showing like 10, which was kind of annoying, but yeah, this is the Discord link. Anybody is welcome to join for certain. So because I'm planning to buy a portable PC, because I hate laptops, because laptops are just one-time use. Yeah, the thing is, I agree with the whole laptop aspect. It's hard to be a true PC gamer on a laptop, because in order for you to enjoy your games, you want to be immersed in it. You want to be able to have the power to play at every setting you have, and have every type of tool at your disposal, such as the best keyboard or best mouse. Even though you can bring a controller and hook it up to a laptop, you do still feel that you're missing something. And it's always when it comes to gaming laptops. Gaming laptops, the really negative thing I got to say about them is the whole battery life side, for obvious reasons. It's going to drain out the battery a lot. And I remember doing this test with the whole Zephyrus G16, And you could, at the maximum, with max settings to say, like if you really wanted to enjoy like the game, then you would spend like maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours. So the battery life is still not really quite there yet when it comes to the gaming side. Now, if you plug it in, of course, you'll get the best performance, but you might not be in an area where you're plugging in, or you might not be exactly comfortable where you are. At least when you're on a desktop PC, or when you're on your gaming rig, you can just sit here. Thanks, Joe Banana. Appreciate it. Hope you get that nice animation up there. You'll get an animation once you subscribe. It should come up if you're subscribing through the live. And but if you're sitting there, and you could really just enjoy sitting at the table and have everything set exactly like you want, like how we got 2 ultra-wide monitors here, right? On a laptop, that's really hard to do. You're limited. You could plug it in and have that capability, but again, you don't really get a chance to enjoy that experience of having a full-out desktop. So if you said, oh, I tried PC gaming, I didn't like it, and you said, oh, how come? Oh, I tried it out on a laptop. It's not really a true PC gaming experience. To really try it, you have to try it on a gaming rig, and I'm telling you, it's completely different. And for those who are curious, I am also on AM4 on AM4, right? I thought and you're doing an Intel build too, right, Alex? Because I remember, are you still going to try to get that 4790K? I know that you said you wanted to do that type of build too. That was one I had to recommend. I don't know if everybody recommends that processor. It's a great processor. And great memories with it too is the Devil's Canyon from Intel. That was an excellent processor back in the day for LGA 1150. So for those who did builds previously and remembers this processor, it was a really good processor that Intel had. And now they're just like, they just fell apart. And now Intel, they're supposed to come out with something very interesting when it comes to their processing side. And by the way, which is their 18A. And I wonder if they're going to introduce it a bit more this year when it comes to Computex. Maybe they will. And that's supposed to be more competitive against the whole AM5 series. It was rumored to be very similar to the 2nm node, but later to find out it's closer to the 5nm node. Hopefully it's, again, not just another rumor where they say, oh, it's actually more closer to the 7nm node. So we'll see when they actually officially release it, but more than likely it's going to be more closer to the 5nm node. And it's supposed to, again, be quite the improvement. The only sad part, I gotta say, when it comes to the Intel side, oh, you changed your mind now? So the only sad part when it comes to the Intel side is if you did choose to get a Z890 board, they're going to completely wash away with the whole Z890 series and start fresh with a whole new series as their socket has changed once more. So they're not going LGA 1851 anymore. They're on LGA 19, I think it's 19 something. I always forget this number because they throw so many pins in there. 1954, that's what it is. Do you think this build can do great in 3D animation, rendering, and CGI? Because I plan to be a game maker and film producer. Oh, that's awesome, Joe. I hope you go all the way. Hopefully you get to that level. If you do 3D animation, I would highly recommend going 5950 if you do. 5950X. You don't even have to get the X3D. You don't have to get 5900. I would say the 5900X, 5950X. That would be the better way to go. Meow says, what do you think, is the RTX 4050 good enough to compete against? Okay, here's the thing when it comes to laptops. Meow P1 actually brought up a great point here, because this is because the thing with laptops, and they say, oh, this has the 4090 in there, right? Oh, this has the 4070. You're like, okay, there's going to be this large gap of difference when it comes to graphics. To be honest, it's not really going to be that large of a gap. You won't really see that much of a power difference. You'll just get more power draw and a very little increase. So if you're choosing to go RTX 4050, if they can compete with each other, yeah, they can definitely compete, because sometimes you'll be surprised. Sometimes the 4050 will act exactly like a 4060, and maybe vice versa. Maybe you'll run into a 4060 laptop that runs just like a 4050. So that was actually a great question by you, Meow, because that is a very common occurrence when it comes to laptops. It's the RTX 4090 when it is in a laptop is not the same as a dedicated RTX 4090 card. Exactly, and that's the exact reason, because of the wattage consumption, because there is a limit to it. It'll actually tell you per watt hour of how much your GPU will actually drain, and that's the issue. So you'll always be bottlenecked by the wattage, and Joe's absolutely right on that one. So if you choose to go laptop, my highest recommendation to go is go focus more onto a gaming laptop if that's what you're looking for, is gaming. If you're looking for more productivity, let me know. That's a whole different aspect of it. But on the gaming wise, you want to focus on something more like the Zephyrus or even the Strix laptops. The better performing, now you can get better performing and better battery and everything, but they will be heavy. I will warn you, they are heavy laptops. And even this day and age, laptops will be really heavy if you're looking for that type of performance. Because in PC wattage can usually go up to 550 watts, but in a laptop, exactly. That's exactly the right one. Hit the nail right on the head, Joe. And so let me know, Meow. Let me know what you're thinking. If you're looking more for gaming performance, or are you looking more for something like more for production use? Are you trying to be more like just like filmmaking or content creation? Because that will also be a different avenue too. And I gotta recommend out there. I know not everyone's gonna be a fan of it, but if you are more in that side of it, I would recommend just getting like an M1 MacBook. They're fairly inexpensive now, because you can get them used, and more than likely you could probably find them like for maybe $1,000 or something, and they will do exactly what you need when it comes to the whole productivity side. Now, when it comes to gaming wise, I would highly suggest something more like, say, like the ASUS Strix. That's a great one. They have the G18, large 18-inch display, but again, you're going to be limited on gaming. Don't expect it to perform as a 5090 GPU if you choose to go get a 5090 laptop. So it's never going to be the same. It will perform well, but it might not perform to your expectations. Love this. Oh, thank you, Joe. I really appreciate it. I try to make sure that everybody's heard, especially for everyone who is looking into. And these are all great questions, because anybody who has questions about building a PC or is trying to get a laptop or anything like that, or maybe doing an upgrade, it's great to talk, because us PC community loves to interact with each other. And again, we do have Discord, so we can continue interaction on there as well. So probably for gaming, friends say those GPUs are almost the same. The only difference is their price. It practically is. Like even like I said, the 4060, 4050, even up to like the 4090, even they can really run pretty much the same. You're just going to end up paying more money out of it. It'll certainly have like more cores and everything, of course, naturally, as you're paying for a higher processor, not higher processor, but a higher GPU. But again, don't expect groundbreaking performance because you're spending an extra, say, $1,000 for a 4090 in a laptop. So either one is fine. Getting a 4050 or 4060 for gaming would be okay, would be great. I highly recommend, again, trying out desktop unless you already have a desktop PC, a gaming PC. I could be wrong about that, but feel free to let us know and let me know what if you do have a desktop PC or if you have a laptop. Okay, so going back onto topic here, I'm going to talk about, there is another thing I want to talk to you guys about too. So we talked about the ASUS ROG Ally 2, and we also talked about GPUs and talked about different motherboards, different variations. We even talked about AMD's EPYC, which looks quite insane. And we even have here goes the interest. And here's another rumor here. I got to share with you guys here too. Another rumor that is spreading around here is that apparently Nvidia is rumored to be working with MediaTek for custom SoCs. It's funny that we were on the topic of it. So apparently the Nvidia M1 rumors, I don't know if everybody has heard of this, but this was something. Yeah, so this was something that I really wanted to share with you guys too, because I know that Nvidia said that they were interested in entering the processing space, and because that they decided to go with something like the Nvidia M1, which is going to be interesting. They're supposed to take up more of the space similar to AMD and Intel. I know some people out there are probably like, why is Nvidia doing this? Why is Nvidia trying to take up the space? They're trying to compete more or so. Everyone is trying to compete more or so with, say, the Snapdragon Elite and with the M1. And this is exactly that type of processor. It's a ARM processor. But it's not really much known about it, but it is rumored that they will have their own type of APU practically. So if they do, I'm just curious on how it's going to turn out here. Now, it's going to likely between 16 gigabytes and up to 32 gigabytes, and it would be significantly cheaper, unlike the GGX Spark, which costs over 3,000. So we'll see how that actually turns out. Would anybody out there be interested in getting a N1X laptop if you were to make a choice? Or would that be out the question because you already know how much Nvidia charges? I'm just curious about how much they would charge for this laptop and where they're going to put it on what type of laptop. I gotta say, underrated laptop out there, but again, this one's a little bit more for productivity side, is the Dell XPXs are actually excellent. They're thin, they have great battery life in there, but they're not really great, of course, for gaming. You could get a gaming one, and you could choose to throw in a RTX, I think as high as a 4070 or 4080. They probably had the 50 series now, but you can only push up to that much with an XPS. But they're great laptops, I gotta say. That's like probably one of the only real things that I like from Dell, besides their Alienware line. So, do you know Disney and DreamWorks, they use that one for Oh, really? So, bro, what is the AMD Threadripper mainly used for? So, the Threadripper is mainly used for if you are very heavy into like encoding and decoding, such as if you're working into something like if you're very heavy Adobe user, for example. If you use After Effects with Premiere Pro and you're using Audition all together, it's great for processes like that, because it not only is it very snappy for that, but it's also great for when it comes to the whole multitasking side. And that's really the purpose, is the ability to multitask on big projects such as those. Sir Chris, how much wattage do you think I will need for your build? So if you have a micro ATX and you have a 4060 minimum, I would say throw in at least like, I think 750 watts should be sufficient at the minimum. 750, because the reason why I give a little cap space for that too is just in case if you choose to do any future upgrades. But 750 should be fairly decent for your build, and that'll give you, again, plenty of headroom if you choose to do other upgrades, throw in extra fans or do whatever, and you don't have to touch it then. What's up, Ezekiel? Good to see you. I actually got my coffee with me right here. I haven't really taken a sip of it. It's funny, I always make coffee on my streams thinking that I'm going to drink a lot, but I end up not drinking as much because I guess I get so caught up in the conversation. But let me actually take a sip of it. It's going great, by the way. Oh, for those who are just wondering. Sorry about that. Had to take a sip. But for those who are just wondering about the whole giveaway with this Samsung 990 Pro, I've reached out to one of the winners who actually won the Samsung 990 Pro. Has not responded, unbelievably. So, but one of the other contest winners, he ended up responding. You guys might have seen him before. His name's he goes by Champ, and he's actually won some merch. So unfortunately, we only have the SSD that we're still trying to give away here. So hopefully he ends up responding. I plan on sending him an email again, and if he does respond, then we officially have a winner again. But yeah, no problem, Joe. I'm glad I could help you out there. Yeah, this, you know, that the funny thing is, I have a funny story behind this. This was actually a gift from my neighbor, like when I was living in another state, actually. And he got me this actually for Christmas, which was nice of him. But it's a very big cup. I love it because of how big the mug is. So I can fit as much coffee as I would like in it. Raffle, yes. Yeah, that's a great idea. Maybe next time the raffle's the way to go. But this time I'll make sure to spread more word on it, so that way we can have a large raffle for this 990 Pro. Where can I cable manage on it? Learn the cable management on a PC correctly? That's a great question. I'm sure that there might be some guides out there. If not, that's certainly something that we can do. And Ezekiel, I think, was a big guy into cable management. He'll probably go into it. But I'll actually, that's a great idea. That's something I could throw onto the list to put on videos. Also, we have a Discord channel here. If you have any questions at all, if anybody does, feel free to join. We have great people on there. And now this time I won't spam. But we have great people on there. If you have any questions on cable management, feel free to ask. It's not really as bad as you think. It can look insane when you have all the wires together. But the easiest way I can say, if you're trying to cable manage at the moment, the best thing to do is deal with all the case wires first, and then use the power supply wires. Deal with everything else towards the end of it. Hopefully that makes more sense, and hopefully you don't just like put everything everywhere. But what I mean by that is try to kind of follow along the corners, really, of your case. Try to follow on the bezels of your case more than anything. And then follow the cable management side of the back of your case. Most PC cases should have some sort of cable strap or some sort of wire management in the back, and you just follow that flow. That's the easiest way to do it for the most part. So if you are trying to cable manage, that's the best way to do it. Do the case wires first, then do the power supply wires next. And you can, what I recommend when you do the power supply wires, you don't have to have your PSU connected to them, of course. The best thing to do is just plug the cables in first, and then you can have the flexibility to move around the cables how you would like it, and then you plug in the PSU at the end. Just make sure, of course, you have the reach for it. If you need alternative cables, they do have them, such as CableMod makes them. Mod DIY also makes great cables, and if you go to them, they will have a bit more flexibility. Now, there's going to be different types depending on your power supply too. It depends on how rigid your cables are. Corsairs can be really rigid, really tough to move, versus Seasonic, where they feel like just rope. They're very easy to move and a lot more flexible. So if you have the more rigid ones and you want to get more flexibility, then go to like CableMods or go to Mod DIY, and you'll be able to adjust it then. So, Sir Chris, what you're doing will help a lot of people who have questions in terms of PC problems and more. I hope you get a lot more subscribers soon. Yeah, I appreciate it, Joe. Appreciate that shout out. And I'm doing everything I can to definitely draw in a crowd, because I want to make sure to get a large community of people out there who are interested in PC building or looking into buying even a pre-built PC. We can help with that. Also, for those who, if you are curious, I also do build PCs. I have it on my website here, which is Chris Mizo's Mods. And I'll send you guys a link for it, so that way, if you are interested in a pre-built PC, let me know, and I'll see what I can do here. Oh, there you go. For some reason, it timed out for a minute, and there you go. But the current ones I have on the moment are these ones here. And that is the shop. So that's what is currently on sale on the PC channel builds. I don't charge shipping, but unfortunately I do only ship in the US because it is a desktop PC. I don't really trust sending a desktop PC internationally, unfortunately. So if you are interested in a pre-build, take a look. There is no charge for shipping, and that is just the flat fee. Also, for anyone that is into trying to get laptops, or even if you're thinking of getting a portable device such as this, like the ASUS ROG Ally, these are also a great alternative instead of getting a laptop, because you still can hook up a keyboard. You could hook up a mouse. There it is, turning it on right now. But you could do everything you can on a PC right on this thing right here. So it's a great option to go. And you could hook it up directly to the monitor. And usually monitors such as this one will have USB-C. I could plug it directly. Even if you don't, you could use a USB hub where it does have a HDMI out port where you could plug it into, say, your TV if you choose to. And it will be very easy to use. Definitely a great device, especially for anyone out there who is thinking of gaming on a portable device. I highly recommend something like ASUS ROG Ally. Great option. But again, you do have limitations because it is a portable console, a portable PC. So you don't have the full, you can't really get the full battery life out of it. Fortunately, the battery life, when that gets like an hour and a half about, like if I play on max settings, but I can make it last as long as 5 hours, depending if I choose to, say, if I'm going to do some sort of remote play from my PC, which anybody can really do. All you have to have is Steam, and Steam does it, lets you do it absolutely free, which is the best part. Do you repair PCs for free like Greg? Unfortunately, I wish I did, but I am not on that level. But if I can, I will. If I could do it for free, I could. Brother, please tell us about your first PC and when did I build? Oh, this will probably reveal how old I am. The first PC that I built was AMD. It was an AMD Athlon 3800. So some people out there may have no idea what I'm talking about, but that was like the first PC I built. It was an AMD Athlon 3800 with I think it was I think I had a Gigabyte board too back then too, but it's so long ago I can't even remember the code of the board. But that's back then when we had IDE cables, if anybody is familiar with that. Hey Ron, good to see you on here. So anybody that dealt with IDE cables, that was a pain. Oh, I also had multiple CD burners, which was a great factor. I had hard drives. That was the type of first PC that I built. Let me see if I can find a picture of something similar to it. Athlon 3800. This was also like when AMD was like really at their prime too. It looks something like this. I'm going to share it with you guys here. Ooh, right there. There you go. You guys see it? This was like the first processor that I touched. and this wasn't like the GPUs and everything. This wasn't like the first GPU I messed with or anything, because before this, I actually was modding my family's computer. In fact, I was changing out the processors because I was so intrigued by it. I was changing out the GPU, the first GPU. I told my pop. I don't know if anyone heard that story, but I told my pop that my father that we need to get a graphics card for the PC. So he's like, why? Why do we got to get a graphics card for it? What's wrong? And I told him, well, the thing that I really need to do, it's something to do with school, and it'll help me do better schoolwork and everything. So back then there was like Comp USA everywhere, and we went to one of those Comp USAs, and we went in there and we ended up picking out a Nvidia's card, which was, I always forget the name of this one. It's the Nvidia, has the mermaid in front of it. Because there's so many. I know it's the 4000 series. What was it? Let me see if I can find it real quick. But I told him that I really needed this. I really needed this GPU so I can do my schoolwork. The 6800, that's what it was. It wasn't the 4. It was the 6800. Right here. And I'll switch the screen here. That's what it looked like. This was the first graphics card like I really got to touch and hands with, which was amazing. And I think at the time it was like $400, which was pretty expensive back then too. But he ended up purchasing me this graphics card here, and I installed it into the PC. And the next thing you know, I was able to enjoy all types of games from installing this thing. And this was because it was required to play games such as like GTA 3. It was amazing to play like Soul Reaver 2 I was able to play. So I remember asking mom to buy me a 3060 just to open 2. Oh, really? So I'm not the only one that's done that. It's so funny because it's like, he never actually questioned me. My father never really questioned me about it. He just ended up getting it because the funny thing was he was also into computers as well, but he couldn't really care less as long as if it made his computer RAM better. So that's why he didn't really question it as much, I think, because he really enjoyed his computer a lot. And this was inside of a Sony Vaio. If anybody remembers their computers, it was like their older models. What was the Sony Vaio? Was it the second model? Because we ended up having 2. We ended up getting, the first one was like an entertainment system, and it was like really expensive at the time. Did it run? Probably not. Probably not. That it would not be able to run Crysis. Wow, they actually still make them. I had no idea that they still made Sony Vaio computers. I thought they were done. That's insane. Let me see. It was this one right here. This is a good picture of it, actually. Oh. Apologize to everyone out there. Here it is. This was it right here. It was like $3,000. And that's it. Right there. That thing was like a $3,000 system, but it was like way ahead of its time. That was like the computer that I really messed with at first. But it was quite an amazing system to have. What my favorite video game is. So I gotta say, this is a hard question for me to answer because I really enjoy a lot of games here. And for favorites, every time I get asked this, I just think of thousands of games. But it's funny because I enjoy like action adventure games such as like Ninja Gaiden. This is like one of my favorites. I enjoy games like some of the games that might feel odd, or like I do like Shenmue a lot because of the story side of it. I like it for that. But for favorite games, Cyberpunk's up there too, because originally I didn't like the game, but after it improved, Cyberpunk 2077 is an excellent game. I enjoyed, and for modern games, I gotta say Boulder Gates 3 was really good. I enjoyed that. And for shooters, I kind of missed the whole, and for shooters, I gotta say it's like Battlefield 3, I think. Battlefield 3 when they actually had the destruction. That and Battlefield Company. Bad Company was good. So those are definitely, I gotta say, more of the top tier games, I feel. And I bet there's more. I love the Arkham Asylum series too, like from Batman. That's also great too. So those are like the general type of games I feel like that are on my top list for sure. Grand Theft Auto is a great game too. Ended up being that like 3 times too. But GTA 5, I actually never got to play GTA 4. That's the only Grand Theft Auto I've never played. I played everyone except that and the ones prior to GTA 3. Not a lot of people has played before GTA 3. So I'm curious how those games are. But yeah, that was it. That was the first computer I dealt with. And for speaking of games, actually, the games that I really enjoyed on there were like Doom. This is prior to the graphics card because it was able to handle it. It was like Doom. It was, what else? Shadow Warrior, Duke Nukem. It was like all like MS-DOS games. I bet everybody remembers those. I would play games like Keen, if anybody remembers Keen. But it was like those type of games that I got to enjoy on there. And I think the first like real 3D game I played on it was Descent 2. And that was like because it came with the joystick, I guess, when the PC was bought. But that's just to give you an idea. That's like how it all started. The whole fascination like with PCs and how I learned a lot. But going back into topic here, let me go back here actually. I'm really curious about how the ROG Ally 2 is. It's funny to think because now you look at this thing, like what I actually had before. Ghost of Tsushima is really good. I love Ghost of Tsushima, actually. That's one game I actually never got to finish. That's one of the games I got to finish, actually. You just reminded me. Because I do have it, I just haven't played it. Again, that's one of the, on my back catalog, I definitely have to play. But it's amazing to think like something like this can outdo a PC from the 90s, you know, easily. And before it's like, and something like that whole system, like having that whole CRT monitor, I think it was with speakers and everything. It was a really expensive monitor for back then. But Ghost of Tsushima, I do love Ghost of Tsushima. There's another game I haven't played was Rise of the Ronin. Has anyone played that? I heard that's pretty decent too. But some people said that they didn't like it. Some people felt mixed about it. What do you guys think of it? Oh, and for anyone who's wondering, speaking of Doom, about the Dark Ages, they compared it with a 50 series, and they also did it with a RX 9070 XT, and those two, they're actually, it's the funny thing is it actually it was in third place for the 9070 XT, which is a GPU that's under $1,000 versus the 5090 and the 4090. And but this was for resolution that was 2.5K. For 4K now, it seemed that the better ones were for the RTX 5090, 4090, then it went 5080, and then it went 4080 as well. Actually 4080, 5080, then the 9070 XT. But it was on the top 5. So that gives you a good indication that the 9070 XT is actually a really good card. So if you're worried about spending any money on something like a 9070 XT, it can definitely run a lot of games without issues. And that's something I really want to get to is that whole new Adrenaline driver that I actually got to download. I'm curious about that thing because apparently there's some audio loss, and we'll see if it actually gets any audio loss from it. But 9070 XT is definitely one of the best releases for this year so far in the PC hardware space. Originally, I thought the 5090 was going to be like a real big thing, because every game the studio was talking about, it's going to change everything when it comes to gaming. So I'm thinking, like, is it something to do with AI? Well, sort of, but not the way I thought. What would you do if you were a 16-year-old teenager, no money in the pocket, and incredibly interested in PC gaming? The funny thing is, like, back in those days, I did everything I could to make money. I remember actually when I first started making money, it was like through, I think I was working like construction or something it was like working construction at first, like when I was a kid. But when I was 16, I would try to do any type of job, really, just to make any money so I can build a PC. And that's how I ended up building my first PC, was that. I think I was actually around 16 when I did that too. Or 15, actually. I was even younger. Do I watch anime? I do. In fact, I do watch anime too. I do like, for anime wise, I do enjoy Demon Slayer, One Piece, Jujutsu Kaisen. I do like those. So I do watch anime for sure. And let me know what you guys like. What are your favorites? In fact, you know what? You probably see some. I don't know if you see it through the camera or not, but you can see Rengoku right back here. Yeah, I got some of the characters. I got Ace back here. What's my favorite? One of my favorites is actually Death Note. Maybe some people really hate it, but Death Note's actually one of my favorites, just because of how deep the story was and how much of a twist it was as well. Naruto. Oddly enough, I never really got into Naruto like that. But I do watch like One Piece and everything too. One Piece I do enjoy. But I'm still in the 800s. I'm like in the late 800s, like 890. So I still got a lot of catching up to do, because I started watching it, I think it was like a year ago or more. And oh, okay. Yeah, those are great choices. Yeah, for sure. Those are excellent choices. Naruto, I'm really curious about it though, but I don't know if it's like one of those ones that are overrated, but if you guys feel it's overrated, let me know. He should get an Optiplex and fit a 3050 or a RX 6000. It is an entry point in PC and plays in most games at 1080p. Absolutely. Brother, what do you do for a living? Oh, I work for the government. It's funny, I got asked this before. But yeah, I work for the government. But speaking of which, another thing I do too is, besides doing that, I do run a business, and that's why I got the whole website up. I figure it'd be good to link it up anyway, which was the shop that I showed you guys. I do also have a PC shop practically too. So if you do want a pre-built PC, let me know, and I definitely can work with pricing. But of course, I can't ship internationally. I can only ship within the US, unfortunately. But these are all great questions. Keep them coming. Definitely keep them coming. I'm enjoying these questions. What kind of games? I actually, currently I'm on, what's that game? The Arena, I think it is. Is it the Arena? No, the Finals. I don't know why I'm thinking Arena. I'm currently playing Finals, Black Ops 6, because of course that's like more of a game that everyone plays and everyone invites me to play is Black Ops 6. That, and I also play Monster Hunter's Wilds right now, and I'm still trying to get through it. But of course, there's I run into some issues, driver issues currently with it. I'm curious to see if I'll run into any other problems with Monster Hunter's Wilds, but that's currently the 3 that I'm playing now. I do want to throw Ghost of Tsushima into the list though, for sure, because that's something that I want to continue playing. And for those, I gotta know what type of games everybody likes out there, and especially when you do a PC build. Yeah, again, this is why I say you don't, and not everybody needs a. Oh yes, yes. You know what's funny? That's like one of my favorites actually is Counter Strikes. That's a good one. Oh, that's a great question too. I'm actually Taiwanese and I'm also Italian, so I am mixed. But of course, I was born here in the U.S. But my mom, she is still in Taiwan, so that's why still have a lot of connections in Taiwan more than anything. And the funny thing is, my wife's Taiwanese as well. So it's so that is what I am. But CS2, the thing is, I gotta play it some more, Counter Strike 2. Because I tried to get into it again, and oh really? Oh, you're Thai. That's awesome. You know what though? I do enjoy some. Yeah, don't worry, Sanchez. I'm not really worried about that team. But I do enjoy some. I do enjoy a lot of dishes. We actually have a lot of Thai places here in Florida. We have a ton. But I'd say like some of the best Thai food I actually had was, ironically, when I went to Taiwan. There's actually a lot of Thai spots there too, and there's ones by my mom which makes some really good Thai. Some excellent coconut milk curry, which I am a big fan of, and they had some like great. I really enjoyed their their shrimp and their what was it like? It's like a fried fish. It was really good, but I can't remember the name of the dishes because it's been like almost 2 years since I went there. But I do enjoy a lot of different Thai dishes. And you know what's really good too that I enjoy is like the desserts. I'm a teenager and I want to ask how it feels to be an adult, have a job, and marry someone and build my. It feels, even though it sounds like it can be nice, but it's also it can be also stressful at the same time too. It's your life will get very busy. Just put it that way. Your time will not be by your side. Your days will go by in a flash. Yes, absolutely. Yes, rice mango dessert is a big favorite. That's exactly, you read my mind, Ezekiel. You are on point. It's funny too because the way you have your last name, Kamal, it kind of reminds me of like a Cambodian too, a little bit too. But if I were to guess, I would be somewhat close, but a little off too. I would feel to be in, yeah, but that's exactly how it feels. So once you start having your own place and you start to have your own job and being married and building a PC, you'll enjoy the time. It'll feel very therapeutic when you are building a PC. And then when you get to the work side, of course, that's the side you don't really want to deal with. Yeah, that's what I figured. That's why I took a guess at that. That's a whole nother conversation. I will definitely talk with you another day for sure. Because I got some stories to tell you, Ezekiel. I appreciate it. Akil, hopefully I'm saying it right. Akil or Akil. I enjoy you coming in. I appreciate you being part of the stream and chatting and asking away questions. But I'll see you soon, buddy. But I'm really hoping that Doom Dark Ages does perform well. Kind of disappointed to see the maximum resolution is 85 frames. Oh, that's right. Oh, I'll tell you. But I got to tell you another time for sure. But I got to say, I'm a bit disappointed that the 85 frames is the maximum frames you get out of an RTX 5090. You spend $3,000 on this card, and and you have a 4K panel, which is probably like another $1,000, and you can't enjoy Doom Dark Ages at a full 100 frames. So that gives you an indication of where development studios are. My real question is, just like GTA 6, I am very curious to see how well that performs on PC. If it runs smooth on, say, like on a 9070 XT with full ray tracing, and you're getting 120 frames, no problems on 4K, then that has to make everyone question out there, what are developers doing? What are these game developers doing? Are they really trying to optimize these games at all? It almost seems like they're just trying to run it on a system and then just run it on one specific system, like an RTX 4090, and say, okay, call it a day. It runs on a 4090, and that's it. Just as long as if it bypasses 60 frames, it's good with me. So if what I'm curious about with Doom Dark Ages is it's also coming out on consoles as well. Do you think it will have full 4K at 100? It can't be 120 hertz. But do you think I'll have full 4K 60 on consoles? Is the question. And I could see it happening somewhat. Again, the reason why I couldn't run 100 frames on a 4K display when it came to the RTX 5090 was because it was on maximum resolution. It was on the, not maximum resolution, but on the best settings that you can put on. All the highest ultra settings on Doom. So it can make sense why it can hit 100 frames in a way. Because it still should be optimized, first of all. But to get back to what I was saying, for like PS5 and Xbox Series X, it should be able to run, right, theoretically. If you don't have full-on ray tracing, maybe you have ray tracing set to low and have all your settings set to somewhat to maybe low to medium settings. Maybe it'll run then. Do you guys think it will be able to run 4K 60 on a PS5 or on a Xbox Series X? And not the PS5 Pro, just the standard PS5. That's my question to everybody out there. Because from what I'm thinking is if they do manage to get 4K 60 out of it, it has to be at much lower settings, right? Because these optimizations are getting out of hand. When you take a look at what really bothers me is like when you take a look at these games, 1440p upscaled to 4K. That's a good point. So similar to what Nintendo Switch 2 is doing. And the reason why I gotta mention Nintendo Switch 2 is because with Nintendo Switch 2, they say you can game in 4K. And you know what's in there, what type of GPU that's in there. I'll tell you the exact number, actually. I'll pull it up. Let me see. Because I know for sure it's a 20 series. Practically it's a 2060. That's customized for a Nintendo Switch 2. But it can game 4K. We all know if you have a 2060, or maybe we all don't know, but a 2060 is now 3 generations ago. A 2060 is not a high-end 20 series card. A 2060 is more of the budget card of back then on your PC, right? So for you, and plus it's on a portable device. So let alone you're claiming that it can reach 4K. You can reach 4K numbers, maybe you can, but from what I'm thinking, it's upscaled, just like how Sanchez has brought up. I was thinking, could it be the dock? Could there be something similar on the dock, like where they have on consoles, such as like ASUS ROG Ally, where you can have a portable GPU and plug it in, and that way you can, you get actual 4K resolution, or is it upscaled? And of course, it's not going to be anything in the dock. There is no GPU that's built in. You're just getting a 2060, and then the dock, all it's doing is upscaling it to 4K to make it look somewhat good. And to say at the least, I think that's a bit disappointing from Nintendo, because usually they're pretty good at innovating things. I think, do you think people would actually want something like that from Nintendo? Like if they give you the option of saying getting the 2060, practically a 2060 Nintendo Switch 2 with no OLED, but you're able to have the option to purchase a dock with it where you can have a decent GPU in it. Maybe it has a 40 series GPU in it, to where like a 4090 or something, right? Where it can upscale it, not upscale it, where it can actually output decent resolution like 4K on a TV. Do you think people would go for it? Or do you think people would back away from it? And my question is, how expensive would that be too? Especially because it's just, you're not doing it for a PC, but you're just specifically doing it for a dedicated console. Would it, instead of, first off, another thing I also have to mention is a Switch 2 should not be $500. I know it comes with a game for $500, but it still shouldn't be $500. And if you do get a Switch 2 with a dock, with a, say, like if it has something like a 4080 or 4090 in it, at least it should be at least like $700 or $800. I think that's realistic. Would people go for that, or do you think people would rather still have the $500 Nintendo Switch 2? Nothing really new, no innovation whatsoever in it besides their first innovation, which was decent, which was a portable gaming console, and you can game at home as well. But the second part was kind of disappointing, where you can use a Joy-Con as a mouse. Not really a big deal, in my personal opinion. I don't know how anybody else felt about it, but there's some lack of innovation there. And on top of it, Nintendo decides to throw in an agreement with everybody out there, end user agreement, where if they catch your system, if any type of homebrew or any type of modification to your Switch 2, that they could actually brick your Nintendo Switch 2, and that's part of the agreement, which is insane. So it's your Switch 2, but then you don't really own it. It feels like, because you can't do what you want with it. If you choose to, if you like doing homebrew, or like if you like doing some sort of modification to Switch 2, you can't really do it. So you guys gotta let me know your thoughts about Nintendo Switch 2, especially because I'm curious. I know everybody out there are mostly gamers as well, and for those who are into PC gaming, I'm curious about your thoughts as well, because it does make you question everything about the Switch 2. Let me know what you guys think about it. I know I ranted a bit about it, but that's just what I personally think about the Switch 2. What do you guys think? Well, you guys think, I'll pull exactly those numbers that I'm looking for here. Here it is. Okay, so I'm going to switch over here, and here's the Switch 2 SoC, right? T239. So there's that custom chip once again. It's from Kopite 7Kimi, so we'll just go directly down. So right here, You got the A78 AE, and you have their ARM processor. And then you have the GPU, which is Ampere based, which is again the 20 series, 2048 CUDA cores. So it's not really anything crazy. More than likely, you're going to have some sort of DLSS inside of the Switch 2. And it has 16 shader blocks, up to 128 cores per block, cache, memory, and interconnect. Also, I forgot to mention in there with the Nintendo Switch 2, it only has 12 gigabytes of RAM in there. So yes, it's an upgrade from the original Switch, as it only had, I think it was 4 on the original Switch, but now they pushed it up to 12. So it's kind of, personally to me, I feel like, again, 16 gigabytes is the sweet spot, especially when it comes to gaming. I'm glad that Nintendo was able to get support from a lot of different developers out there, and that they're willing to work with Nintendo on this. I know some developers are not making as much money as they used to, so now they're kind of working with Nintendo because in desperate moves, because just like EA and Ubisoft, just to name a few, are a few of the companies that are trying to work with Nintendo to figure this out and to have games put on their system. They're also putting games such as Cyberpunk 2077 onto Nintendo Switch, which is a decent game, I feel. I feel that's a great game they chose to go with. But I'm just curious on the direction of Nintendo from now on. Do you think that it will be influenced by any type of do you think Nintendo will be influenced by any game studios out there? Or, really, I wouldn't say Nintendo is not being influenced. They're actually the ones influencing the other studios, such as charging like these $80 games. But it seems that that is going to be the new price point. Unfortunately, Microsoft has mentioned this. They mentioned this about, I think, earlier this week. They said $80 per game will be standard after the holidays specifically. So $80 USD for just any type of game, doesn't matter if it's physical or if it's digital media. That's what the price is going to be, unfortunately. I know it's a bit disappointing. Hopefully that gets better, but honestly, it seems like we kind of jumped from 70 to 80 really quick. And it seemed like for a lot of PC games out there that they weren't charging 70 for a long time till as of recent, until late last year about. Then they started really charging 70. And it seemed like we were able to get the best pricing, especially when it comes to gaming. And just to mention to everybody out there who does want to purchase any games, I do know that GreenmanGaming.com does have a sale going on currently because it's their birthday. So I think the sale is supposed to run all the way to the 23rd. I'll show you guys too. Greenman Gaming is actually one of my favorite sites to go to when it comes to purchasing stuff. So you don't only have to don't tell me it's down. There we go. Oh, there you go. So you can get the premium edition for $82.99. There's their birthday sale. So they currently do have that. Thanks to Alex out there for catching this. And he brought this up to my attention. And they actually have some really good titles on sale. I still haven't played Silent Hill 2 on the remake of it. I heard that's great. But they have a decent amount of games for sale. I'm curious about Oblivion, how much, if they got that up for sale yet. They do. $41.99. That's actually a great deal for it. Just throw any date here. Okay, so $41.99 on Steam. And usually on Green Man Gaming, they also allow you to pick if you're going to get it for console, or if you're getting it for if you're getting it for console, or if you're getting it for PC. But this one's specifically just for PC. So let me go back here. For example, let me see, all games. Here you go. So you can shop. Let me see if I can find a PlayStation game real quick. This is already on sale. Last was too. I've heard mixed things about it because of the requirements. And yeah, it seems like mostly Steam. I thought they had the other one. I think that might be another website. But for anyone that does want to pick up any games out there, at least you know Green Man Gaming does have a sale going on. So definitely check them out. And that's funny, there's Ghost of Tsushima, but that looks like they have it for full price on there. It's a full $59.99. So, but I am really excited for Computex upcoming this year. I'm really curious what's going to unfold. More than likely, we're going to see something to do with AMD GPUs, and I really am hoping that AMD does come out with a high-end GPU, and I could see it coming as they succeeded very well when their sales this year. Again, 10 times more than they expected in sales. And on top of it, you do have a 9080 variant that was released on a laptop. Maybe it was some sort of indicator that there's a 9080 coming out, even though it didn't seem like 9080 GPU material, as it only had up to 12. Nvidia is doing a bad thing. Oh yeah? What's that, Ace? Let me know. GG10 raffle. RTX 5060, when will it be in the market? Very soon. It's funny that you asked that, because it's going to be very soon that you can see a RTX. You're going to see the 5060s. It's probably going to be right after Computex, which is going to be a week from now. Why do most laptops use Nvidia GPUs? Because they know their market. They know most people are looking for Nvidias. Unless there is a switch of demand, then you can expect AMD to have more AMD GPUs out there. But as of now, Nvidia has a lot of the market. Just a good example is if you look at the processors, you'll see more AMD processors now versus Intel. And before, it used to be all Intel and very few AMD processors. Gigi also brought up a great point about the raffle. I will definitely be doing, maybe I'll be doing a raffle, just got to figure out how to get it working here. So just, I'll probably do it within like maybe through the whole month, and then we'll figure something out with this whole raffle. Game has been mostly $50, like Expedition 33. I agree. Expedition 33 is a great one. Oblivion, Atomfall. Not sure. I think Doom is 80, because I looked up Doom, and for some reason Doom is $80. I don't know why. It should really be on the lower end. Mafia, the new game, is coming out in the summertime. That's also $50 too. So we can expect that. I am looking forward to it though. More than likely, we can expect. Doom really needs to drop the price, especially for that optimization. I'm sorry. I love the Doom series and everything, but geez, that's kind of scary. Hopefully, that there will be some sort of driver update. More than likely, there will be. We can expect one, especially it's been a little while since we had one for Nvidia. AMD might be doing an update as well if there is issues with the new driver, which I will download immediately as the stream ends. And again, if I do have some time later, I'll definitely get back on later to do another stream. I'm thinking of doing one. We could go and go in game, and because there is, I do want to get back on the 5090. I figured out what the problem was with the last stream when it came to the connection, was because the VPN was on, which kind of interfered with the connection. hence why we had that whole issue of disconnecting and reconnecting the stream. So I apologize about that. Hopefully you guys will tune in later. If there is, I will alert everybody about it. But I appreciate everybody coming in to this live stream. If you haven't already, make sure to follow the Discord channel, as if you have any questions at all, you feel free to ask in here. You play Doom on Game Pass. Take advantage of it if you can play Doom on Game Pass. Usually I like to try to get all my games on Steam. I don't really like to... I get the idea why Xbox is doing it, but it's almost like I just don't hope it goes that way to where they make it all games subscription based, you know? I feel like that's a bad idea, because then eventually they can just start showing lack of care when it comes to gaming, in my opinion. The quality, I don't think, would be as good. We'll just be kind of forced to the different games that we're given at that point. But I thank everybody for coming to the stream. Hopefully I will hop on later. If I do, I will alert everybody on Discord, and I will also alert everybody on my YouTube channel, on my post, or follow my X handle, which is at Mizo Chris, which is this. I'll type it in real quick. And it's the same when it goes to my TikTok or my Instagram handle as well. And if you're interested in buying a pre-built PC, and if you are inside the US, I do sell them. They are right here. Thank you, Sanchez. I appreciate you as always. And I think you joined our Discord, right, Sanchez? I'm not sure if you did or not, but make sure you do. And I will figure out this whole raffle instead if I don't get in touch with this winner. Hopefully I do. If I don't, then we will definitely be doing a raffle. And if you're curious what it's going to be on, it will be on the Samsung 990 Pro 1TB. So thanks again so much for watching, guys. Thanks to the fan band for making this all possible. And I love all you guys out there. Feel free to ask any questions at Discord, as I'm not afraid to answer any of them. And I'm sure if I don't answer, somebody else in our community is also willing to help. We have a great community on there, and hope to see you there. And maybe hope to see you soon. Thanks so much, guys.